Hey there, this is Mr. Icarus, and welcome to Mod Madness. This time round, we're checking out a mod for Max Payne by the name of Kung Fu, version 3.0 to be precise. You ever seen The Matrix? That's pretty much what Kung Fu allows you to do in a nutshell. All those sweet moves, all that bullet dodging, all that extra bit of flair is added to your slow-mo shenanigans here, with an additional bit of melee madness for good measure as well. After all, it is called Kung Fu and not just the Matrix mod. So how exactly does this work? Rather than diving in a particular direction, if you want to do a Matrix dodge, you have to be in a standing position, tap a direction, and then hit mouse 2, and that'll let you perform some sweet slow-mo cinematic moves. One of my favorite things, though, are the flips that you do when holding something like a pump-action shotgun or an assault rifle. It's utterly ridiculous, but brings a great big smile across my face every time. As I mentioned earlier, there is also a melee component to this mod, and thankfully there is also a training dojo included, so you can try out some of those sweet moves before you try and pull them off in the main game proper. And to that end, we've got our charming assistant here, Barry, who has a shockingly high pain threshold. He just keeps getting back up, and you can keep continuously punching him in the face. One thing you do have to watch out for in the dojo is the fact that NPCs can, in fact, knock you out, and if you press the wrong button, it'll just kick you out to the main game, so you want to proceed with a degree of caution. There's also an additional move that you can pull off in the dojo that unfortunately I wasn't able to get working in-game, and that is the good old wall flip. It looks tremendously cool, and there's plenty of opportunities and places for you to potentially do it within the game. I mean, even the lower walls allow you to flip off of them here, but for some reason I just couldn't get it working. Another pretty fun thing you can do in the dojo is get to grips with the fighting staff. This also spawns multiple NPCs for you to wail on, and gives you access to a few staff dedicated moves. If you press mouse 2 and one of the diagonal directions, for example, you'll do some rather cinematic flippy shit. The standard mouse 1 attack is a lot of staff twirling, and this is a situation where you really need to be careful about getting surrounded, because multiple NPCs, especially when several of them are wielding lead pipes, can mean a very quick end to your sparring session if you let yourself get overwhelmed. One thing that the dojo does not teach you, however, is just how ineffectual all of these kung fu moves can actually feel when you're playing through the main game, because you have to realize, in the main game, these guys don't use their fists. They don't even use lead pipes. They use guns. The unfortunate truth is that the levels of Max Payne just aren't balanced for these kind of kung fu shenanigans. Most attempts to infuse a bit of fisticuffs into any given encounter will often result into a lot of unnecessary damage taken, a fair few restarts in many cases, and a bout of awkward flailing as you try to position yourself and flip around the room to a point where you're not being shot at. And then you kind of give up, switch back to the guns, and realize that it's just a whole lot more efficient to introduce bullets to bodies. Ultimately, if they wanted to help facilitate the full moveset during the course of these levels, they'd have to tweak a few aspects, namely taking away guns from a few of the NPCs, just so you can, occasionally have the opportunity to get up close and personal, or maybe even take advantage of great big areas such as this one right here. I mean, I can already imagine it filled with unarmed goons, maybe a conveniently placed fighting stick propped up against the wall, and after that, you could have yourself some good old fighting on the dance floor. But sadly, that opportunity does not seem to have been taken, and personally, I've got no idea how easy or difficult something like that may be to implement. In the meantime, though, there's still absolutely nothing stopping you from breaking out the old fist-to-face interface, or stick-to-face interface as it were in this case, at any given moment. You just need to be aware that by doing so, you're going to be imposing a significant amount of extra difficulty on yourself. To that end, all I'll say is pick your battles extremely carefully and make sure you've got some really well-placed backup saves, because even though something like this here may look rather cool, what with all the flippy shit and bullet dodging I'm somehow managing to pull off, trust me, it took a ridiculous number of retries to get right. So really, this mod is a little bit of an odd duck. It's something that bills itself as a Kung Fu mod, yet the most workable aspect of it is the extra sprinkling of ridiculousness that it brings to the gunplay. Sticking with that particular aspect alone, I'm sure you'll have a fine old time with this mod, but yeah, I think it needs something a little extra if it were to take advantage of the actual Kung Fu. If this video has managed to pique your interest in this mod and you feel like giving it a try for yourself, feel free to check out the links in the description, which will also lead you to a few optimizations and fixes for Max Payne itself. It has a little trouble running on more modern operating systems, so feel free to take advantage of that. While I'm at it, I'd like to say a great big thank you to my wonderful patrons over on Patreon. Thank you so very much for your contributions, and thank you very much for helping to make content like this possible. If you'd like to help support the channel too, the link to my Patreon page can be found in the description below. Hopefully you've enjoyed this video. Feel free to let me know what you thought in the comments, and feel free to suggest any mod you'd like to see me cover in future editions of Mod Madness. This has been Mr. Icarus. Thank you very much for watching. Icarus out.